up, guys? Today we have a fully leveled heavy bolter that I really wanted to focus on the accuracy of. I wanted to focus on the accuracy and the maximum spread. I wanted to make sure that when I went for headshots with this weapon, I had a good chance of landing consecutive headshots. The heavy bolter, now that it's reworked, is a very powerful weapon. And I think it also kind of amplified because I ran into a tactical who had communion of fire. So this heavy bolter was basically the best case scenario for like a long range heavy bolter. And I do have Bonds of Brotherhood, which is nice. We're going to get a lot of usage out of that. And I also am using Strategic Stand. I don't have the most experience with it, but I know Strategic Stand is very powerful. And we are playing on the PS5 here. And basically, I just wanted to try out the reworked heavy bolter, but I was very interested in a lot of the, extra accuracy perks that are now on the weapon. And not to mention, again, I did run into a tactical that also helped out my accuracy. So, to me, it was actually just a perfect moment to just try out the weapon with a fully leveled heavy. I'm not too worried about leveling up this heavy on console. I do have a Prestige 4 heavy on PC, so I'm not too worried about leveling up this heavy. So I kind of just wanted to jump into, Absolute with a fully leveled heavy bolter and to see how I could get this weapon to feel just a little bit easier to use. Not that the accuracy was too terrible. Also, that's me not knowing how strong Strategic Stand is. Once I start to realize that I can just sit there and essentially heal myself the entire time I'm using this weapon, it was really hard to take me down. Sometimes. It really depends. This operation starts off pretty terrible because, here's where I've started to realize, oh wow, the heavy bolter can just shred majors. And as long as I keep my stand there, boom, see, all headshots immediately deleted. It was kind of insane. There was a lot of majors around us, and this player, I do res, and I do have Bonds of Brotherhood. We're going to get a lot of usage out of that. Bonds of Brotherhood is still a very, very good perk. We do ultimately decide to just rush through here. I do see my teammate up there, so I thought he was going to be able to follow me up. And unfortunately, the sniper ends up leaving, which isn't the best. We just healed him. We just picked him up. But yeah, that little handshake there just a little bit ago is just kind of a funny transition that I kind of wanted to put in there just so we were able to just get to this part. And I think it's kind of interesting that I go for this parry. I get jumped on here. I also get hit directly with a unblockable attack. Now, I do have a stim here. This Lictor is absolutely piecing me up. Now, I still have Strategic Stand. And by interesting, I mean, holy cow, man. That was terrible. But still, we were able to take out this Extremist, and I still have a stim. That was probably the worst clip I've ever had against a Lictor. But honestly, it's fine. It's fine. I do have a stim. I can get rid of the mortal wound. And honestly, I was just very caught off guard there. And I don't have Duelist. So it is kind of interesting to see how the effect of how good Duelist is on heavy. I think it's one of the best prestige perks you can put on heavy, just because heavy kind of has like a weird parry. And here's the long range heavy bolter at work. We were able to just isolate the Bivor and just take him out there, which is really nice. And scan goes really well with this heavy bolter because, go for the headshots and delete. Go for the headshots, shoot any of the majors and delete. And remember, I do have a stim here, and you can see the health with Strategic Stand right there. I could have immediately went back into aiming, and as long as I was hitting my shots, I would have been able to get my health back, but still, I found a good opportunity to use the stim to clear the mortal wound, and we are making it through this operation. And hey, you know what? We do have a player that's joining, so that's good. And honestly, I think this operation, Exfiltration, on Absolute, is one of the most fun Absolute missions because there are definitely some areas in this operation that are a huge pain. But as long as you know how to get through them, you are good. Like, this room specifically can be terrible. And yeah, unfortunately the Melta, I didn't really line up with the Melta too well there. But still, you're able to see the effects of Strategic Stand. I'm able to just sit here and immediately get a lot of DPS out, which feels really good. The fact that they can't really budge me too much. And as long as I get a major out, we get, we take out Gaunts. So pretty much getting all of the Tyranids into a pack here in this room is actually huge, because as long as you take out some majors, you can clear out some Gaunts, you can throw down some Meltas. Yeah, there's just like this corner you can play around. There's a wall. You can set up some dangerous traps right there. Right there, honestly, I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to plant my feet right here with the Heavy Bolter and take out everything I can see on screen while healing myself. And the Heavy Bolter is actually pretty good for those Vine Mines. Honestly, the reworked Heavy Bolter at this point in the operation, I was thinking to myself, this is the best weapon in the game. The Heavy Bolter is so good. It just takes a little bit to rev up. And I really can't think of a situation where I wouldn't want a Heavy Bolter. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, it's very easy to use. I will say, though, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that I really think Communion of Fire amplified the headshot capability of this weapon. I'm getting haunted by lictors in this operation. By the way, yeah, when he jumped on me, I had no time to react from that. That was terrible. But still, I was not too worried. I do have Bonds of Brotherhood. There was a stim right there, so I figured, hey, if I go down, I can just pick up this stim. I pick up the stim, but get immediately snuck by the extremist there. I get picked up. Bonds of Brotherhood full heals me. This is a great operation to show you how strong Bonds of Brotherhood is. This was definitely one of the sloppiest heavy operations I had in a long time. And honestly, I normally don't go down very often. I'll definitely get hit a lot, but I will try my best to play around 1 health as much as I can. But yeah, here, again, another opportunity to get some healing, but Strategic Stand definitely saves me here, ultimately, because, yeah, as soon as I went for the shots, it basically full healed my health. This Strategic Stand is very good. It's very good, and I do have it on my Prestige 4 Heavy on PC now, so I'm definitely going to go back to that to see how powerful that is. It's just kind of unfortunate it doesn't work for the Heavy Bolt Rifle, right? But hey, it works for the Heavy Bolter, so that's good enough for me, ultimately. But yeah, right there I got sniped, and then I was able to get my health back immediately. And there was a lot of good long-range moments, but here's a pretty good long-range moment, is where I'm not too worried about the Major getting too far away from me there. I just didn't want to get sniped again. And yeah, the Major here can't really get away from me. Even if they keep going up the stairs, you can see the spread on the Heavy Bolter right there. It is just outside of the circle. You can kind of see the spread start to widen, and you can kind of see the corners start to widen. But if you actually pay attention to the spread of the Heavy Bolter, you can see it's just outside the circle there. I guess at a longer range, you will start to see more spread. Like, for example, right here. But I'm still able to get a lot of shots out on the Major and the Extremist there. And even if I miss the head, you're still getting a lot of shots off and from a long range. And with Strategic Stand, ultimately, it's just the best long-range setup you can have for Heavy. I mean, honestly, the Heavy Plasma Incinerator is one of the best weapons in the game as well, but you can consider the projectile speed and the travel speed of ultimately the awkward bullet of the Heavy Plasma Incinerator. You do kind of need to get good with that. For a ranged weapon like that, sometimes it's not preferred. I mean, if you consider Zoanthropes or Neurothropes or whatever, Disc Shamans can be weird with the Heavy Plasma Incinerator. I just think the Heavy Bolter is just one size fits all type of weapon. If you have a fully leveled Heavy Bolter, I can imagine that with Strategic Stand is going to be the bread and butter of this class jumping into siege mode. And you can even see with this fight with the Trygon Prime, we are just able to just put out so much firepower. And not to mention, we're still getting accurate shots here. Again, long range Heavy Bolter here. And it's kind of interesting that we do have the Heavy Bolt Rifle, but you can also basically build the Heavy Bolter into a long-range, bolter type weapon. You just kind of, you're kind of a little bit more awkward using it considering the heavy stance. I do think the Heavy Bolt Rifle is pretty good on heavy if you go for a melee build, something like that, just because you're a little bit more responsive. And not to mention with Duelist, you can definitely get some good parries. And I think Heavy Bolt Rifle definitely has a spot. By the way, yeah, I had a pretty easy Trygon Prime fight here. I kind of just set up and, you know, no matter where the Trygon Prime is out at on the map, sorry, I can definitely pelt in a lot of damage, especially from afar. Yeah, this build was just super good. I think this, you know, heavy strategic stand, heavy bolter just goes well. Like in any situation, no matter what, you are going to get a lot of your health back. You're going to be able to put out a lot of damage, and now you just feel tankier ultimately. So, you know, you can sit there and take a lot of damage, but as long as the heavy bolter is still putting out shots, you are going to be in a good position. Now, I do like Duelist a lot, so unfortunately that I did not have Duelist for this fight, because I definitely needed it for the Lictor fight, and then, yeah, against these bone swords, it can be a little bit awkward. But as long as I have strategic stand, I should be good in all these situations. I get the catch right there. Boom, armor back. Again, I also am trying to hit headshots with the heavy bolter. Basically, this heavy bolter is probably the most accurate it can be if you consider the, you know, the tactical's team perk. And unfortunately, one of my teammates does go down there. It is the Vanguard. I kind of forget what perk they were using with the Vanguard, but it honestly wasn't that big of an issue regardless, because we do a great job at dealing with the Trygon's Prime health to begin with here. I think he starts to kind of shift by us a little bit. Oh no, we still have, oh wow, yeah, we were taking a bit on the Melta part of this boss fight, it seems. Boom, big explosion, big tunnel closing. And as long as we can take out this major, we should be able to get to the next part of this operation. Holy cow, this boss fight. I still really enjoy Trygon Prime. I think the more I fight Trygon Prime, the more I start to think it's probably better than the Hive Tyrant. Trygon Prime is just, it feels the right amount of difficult. Sometimes the Hive Tyrant, the difficult part of the Hive Tyrant just comes from the fact that like mobs can come out of nowhere and take your team by surprise. So, you know, if you have, oh, there we go. We have melee champion with the Vanguard. But yeah, if you have a teammate who doesn't realize that mobs can spawn in the Hive Tyrant, sometimes they just can go down. And yeah, ultimately the mobs in the Hive Tyrant can kind of be like the thing you need to navigate. Whereas in this fight, you kind of need to navigate the Trygon Prime itself, and also there's an objective, you know, you've got to clear out those tunnels. And then boom, yeah, as long as the boss was in the area, the heavy bolter was able to just shred, because, you know, as long as it is accurate, you can just aim for the head. The Trygon Prime's still a big target anyway, so you're just getting out a lot of damage. So yeah, I will suggest using an accurate heavy bolter. That is how you get the best out of the range of the weapon. It's not really supposed to be a ranged weapon regardless. And yeah, boom, 20,000. That's a good amount of damage. 20,000 on the heavy bolter. Not a prestige heavy, but he's still fully leveled, so that's good. Couple special kills. I went down a couple times. Bonds of Brotherhood, very good. Yeah, this was a sloppy operation, but still perfect build for it.